Who is this course for? This course is for anyone who feels stuck in patterns of pain, fear, or self-sabotage, struggles with emotional triggers, anxiety, or self-doubt, wants to understand their past without being controlled by it, is ready to take accountability and make lasting changes, wants to build emotional resilience and move forward with confidence. How to approach this course. Healing is not a race. It's a process. Take your time with each lesson, reflect on the exercises, and be kind to yourself. Some topics may bring up difficult emotions, and that's okay. If needed, take breaks, journal your thoughts, or seek support from a trusted friend, therapist, or community. A message before you begin. You've already taken the first and most powerful step, showing up. By being here, you're proving to yourself that healing is possible. No matter how heavy your past may feel, your future is still in your hands. Welcome to your healing journey. Trauma is a deeply personal experience. The effect of trauma shapes our thoughts. Those thoughts controls our emotional states. Those emotional states dictates our behaviors and shapes our lives in ways most of us never even realize. Whether it stems from childhood experiences, relationships, loss, violence, or life's unexpected hardships, trauma can leave lasting imprints on our minds and bodies. But healing is possible. This course is designed to help you understand, process, and overcome trauma in a structured and guided way, but at your own pace. You are not broken. You are not defined by your past. With the right tools, knowledge, and mindset, you can reclaim control over your life and create a future rooted in strength and resilience. What to expect. This course is divided into 4 key stages and 1 bonus stage, each with 7 steps, carefully structured to guide you through self-awareness, education, reflection, long-term healing, and a proactive approach to prevention of re-traumatization. 1. Acknowledgement and accountability. We start by recognizing the presence of trauma, understanding how we got here, and taking ownership of our healing. 2. Education and understanding. We explore how trauma affects the brain, influences decision-making, and impacts emotions. We also develop critical thinking and empathy. 3. Behavioral reflection and regulation. We analyze our trauma-driven behaviors, develop self-awareness, and cultivate discipline to create positive change. 4. Growth and prevention. Finally, we reflect on progress, reinforce key lessons, and build strategies to maintain healing and prevent trauma cycles from repeating. Stage 1. Acknowledgement and accountability. Objective. To become fully aware of your trauma, its impact, and your role in healing. Each step in this stage includes a lesson, reflection questions, and an accountability checkpoint that will be revisited in Stage 4 to measure growth. Step 1. Recognizing trauma. Goal. Understanding what trauma is and identifying how it has affected your life. What is trauma? Trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience that overwhelms your ability to cope. It can come from events like a car accident, bullying, abuse, neglect, or even witnessing something frightening. Trauma isn't just about what happens to you, it's also about how your mind and body react to those experiences. Some people go through difficult situations but recover quickly, while others struggle with lasting emotional and physical effects. Trauma can shape the way you see yourself, others, and the world, sometimes making you feel unsafe, anxious, or disconnected. How trauma manifests emotionally, mentally, and physically. Trauma doesn't just affect your emotions, it can impact your entire body and mind. Emotionally, Trauma can cause intense fear, sadness, anger, guilt, or shame, sometimes without an obvious reason. Mentally, it can lead to anxiety, depression, difficulty concentrating, or negative thoughts about yourself and the world. Physically, trauma can cause headaches, stomach aches, body pain, trouble sleeping, or a constant sense of exhaustion. Some people even develop flashbacks or panic attacks where they relive parts of the traumatic experience. Trauma can also make you feel numb, like you're disconnected from yourself or the people around you. Different types of trauma: acute, chronic, complex. Not all trauma is the same. There are three main types: acute, chronic, and complex trauma. Acute trauma happens because of a single intense event, like a natural disaster, assault, or car accident. Chronic trauma is repeated over time, such as ongoing bullying, domestic violence, or neglect. Complex trauma happens when someone experiences multiple long-term traumatic events, often in childhood, making it harder to feel safe, trust others, or regulate emotions. Each type of trauma can affect people differently, but all can leave deep emotional wounds. Recognizing personal signs of unresolved trauma. Unresolved trauma doesn't just go away with time. If it's not processed, it can show up in different ways. Some personal signs of unresolved trauma include avoiding certain places, people, or conversations that remind you of the past, having strong emotional reactions to small things, feeling constantly on edge, or struggling with trusting others and forming healthy relationships. You might also engage in self-destructive behaviors, such as isolating yourself, being overly aggressive, or using unhealthy coping mechanisms like substance abuse. A big sign of unresolved trauma is feeling stuck in the past, as if you can't move forward because something is still holding you back. Reflection. Questions. 1. How do I define trauma in my own life? 2. What specific experiences have left lasting emotional imprints on me? 3. How does my trauma currently affect my daily life and relationships? Accountability. Checkpoint. Identify and write down 3 ways trauma has influenced your behavior or mindset. Revisit in stage 4 to see how these influences have changed. Journal exercise. Recognizing trauma. Write a trauma timeline listing key events that shaped your emotions and beliefs. Highlight patterns or recurring themes in past experiences. What does the word trauma mean to me? What are some past experiences that still affect me today? How do I usually respond to emotional pain? Step 2. The power of self-reflection. Goal: exploring how past experiences have shaped your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Lesson: why self-reflection is essential for healing. Self-reflection is the process of looking inward and understanding how your past experiences, emotions, and behaviors connect. It's essential for healing because it helps you recognize unhealthy patterns, process emotions, and take control of your future. Without self-reflection, you might continue reacting to situations based on past trauma without realizing why. For example, if someone struggles with trust issues, self-reflection can help them identify where those fears started, maybe from being betrayed in childhood. By understanding the root of their emotions, they can begin to challenge those fears instead of letting them control their relationships. Healing isn't just about forgetting the past. It's about learning from it, changing harmful behaviors, and growing into a healthier version of yourself. How past experiences shape our subconscious beliefs. The things we go through, especially in childhood, shape the way we see ourselves and the world, even when we're not aware of it. Our subconscious mind absorbs messages from our environment, such as how people treat us, what we're told about ourselves, and how safe or unsafe we feel. For example, if someone grew up being criticized a lot, They might develop a subconscious belief that they are never good enough, leading to low self-esteem. If someone experienced neglect or abandonment, they might believe they are unlovable and push people away before they can get hurt. These subconscious beliefs influence how we think, act, and even the choices we make. The good news is that once we recognize these beliefs, we can challenge them and replace them with healthier ones. Recognizing thought patterns linked to trauma. Our thoughts shape how we feel and act, but many people don't realize that negative thought patterns can be linked to trauma. Some common trauma-based thought patterns include catastrophizing, something bad is always going to happen, self-blame, everything is my fault, trust issues, I can't rely on anyone, and avoidance, if I ignore it, maybe it will go away. These thoughts often come from past painful experiences, but feel like absolute truths in the present. For example, someone who was repeatedly let down might believe, I can't trust anyone, which leads them to push people away, even those who have good intentions. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them. Once you realize that these thoughts are rooted in past trauma, you can start questioning them. Is this really true, or is this my trauma talking? With time and effort, you can rewire your brain to think in a healthier, more balanced way. Reflection. Questions. 1. What core beliefs have I developed as a result of my past experiences? 2. How have these beliefs affected my self-worth and decisions? 3. Are these beliefs helping or harming me? Accountability. Checkpoint. Write down 3 beliefs you hold about yourself because of past trauma. Revisit in stage 4 to see how these beliefs have shifted. Journal exercise. Understanding your trauma story. Answer. If my trauma were a story, what would the main theme be? Identify 3 key beliefs you developed from your experiences. If my trauma were a book, what would the title be, and why? How has my past shaped my self-identity? What are some negative beliefs I hold about myself because of past experiences? Step 3. Breaking denial. Goal. Confronting the reality of past experiences instead of minimizing or avoiding them. Lesson. The role of denial in coping. Denial is a defense mechanism that helps people avoid painful emotions by refusing to accept reality. When someone experiences trauma, their mind may try to protect them by acting as if nothing happened or minimizing the impact of the experience. For example, someone who loses a loved one might initially act as if everything is fine because their mind isn't ready to process the grief yet. However, denial can also be dangerous when it becomes a long-term coping strategy. True healing starts when a person moves beyond denial and begins acknowledging what they have been through. How avoiding trauma can prolong suffering. Many people believe that if they avoid thinking about their trauma, it will eventually go away on its own. Unfortunately, the opposite is true. Avoiding trauma only prolongs suffering. Unprocessed trauma doesn't disappear. It stays trapped in the mind and body, showing up in unexpected ways like anxiety, anger, relationship issues, or even physical pain. Avoidance can also lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms such as substance abuse, emotional numbness, or lashing out at others. Facing trauma may feel painful at first, but it is necessary for true healing. The more a person avoids it, the more control it has over their life. The importance of facing uncomfortable truths. Healing requires facing hard truths, even when they are painful or uncomfortable. This means acknowledging past experiences, recognizing unhealthy behaviors, and accepting the impact of trauma. Many people resist this step because it can be scary, embarrassing, or overwhelming to confront the past. However, avoiding these truths only keeps a person stuck in the same emotional cycles. For example, Someone who always blames others for their problems might have to accept that their reactions and choices also play a role in their struggles. While this can be difficult to admit, it is also empowering because it allows for growth and change. Reflection. Questions. 1. Have I minimized or dismissed certain painful experiences in my life? 2. What emotions arise when I think about fully accepting my past? 3. What fears or resistance do I have about confronting my trauma? Accountability checkpoint. Identify one painful truth you have avoided acknowledging. Revisit in stage 4 to assess how your perception of this truth has changed. Journal exercise. Taking accountability. Write about a moment when you played a role in a negative experience. List actions you can take to regain control of your healing. In what ways have I allowed my trauma to dictate my life? What responsibilities do I have in my healing journey? How can I reclaim my power and stop blaming others? Step 4. Understanding triggers. Goal. Identifying emotional and situational triggers connected to trauma. Lesson. What are emotional triggers? An emotional trigger is anything, words, actions, situations, or even smells, that causes a strong emotional reaction based on past experiences. Triggers often make people feel overwhelmed, anxious, angry, or sad without always understanding why. They can stem from unresolved trauma or painful memories. For example, if someone was constantly criticized as a child, hearing even mild criticism as an adult might trigger feelings of shame or worthlessness. Triggers are not always logical, but they are real and can deeply affect emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. How triggers are tied to past experiences. Triggers are rooted in past experiences, especially those involving pain, fear, or betrayal. When something reminds the brain of a past traumatic event, it reacts as if the event is happening again. This is because trauma affects how memories are stored, sometimes bypassing logical thinking and going straight to emotional or physical responses. For example, someone who was in a toxic relationship may feel panicked when a new partner raises their voice, even if no real danger is present. Understanding this connection is key to learning how to manage triggers in a healthy way. How to recognize when you're being triggered. Recognizing triggers is the first step to gaining control over them. When triggered, a person may experience intense emotions, physical reactions, like a racing heart or tight chest, or sudden negative thoughts. They might overreact to a small situation, feel defensive, or want to shut down completely. For example, if someone gets irrationally angry or extremely anxious in a conversation, it could be because something was said or done that reminded them of past pain. A good way to recognize a trigger is to pause and reflect. What am I feeling right now? Is this reaction about the present moment, or does it remind me of something from my past? Identifying triggers takes practice, but once you can spot them, you can learn to respond instead of react, giving yourself the power to control your emotions instead of letting them control you. Reflection. Questions. 1. What common situations, words, or behaviors trigger strong emotional reactions in me? 2. How do I typically respond to being triggered? 3. What does my body feel like when I am emotionally triggered? Accountability. Checkpoint. Make a list of your top 3 emotional triggers and how they affect you. Revisit in stage 4 to determine if your responses to these triggers have improved. Journal exercise, self-reflection, and ownership. Reflect on how trauma has affected relationships, work, and personal choices. Write a letter to your younger self, offering understanding and accountability. What are some patterns I've repeated in my relationships or decisions? How has my trauma influenced my reactions toward others? If I were to take full ownership of my healing, what would be my first step? Step 5. Ownership versus blame goal. Understanding the difference between taking responsibility and carrying unnecessary guilt. Lesson: the difference between accountability and self-blame. Accountability means taking responsibility for your actions and choices, while self-blame unfairly places guilt on yourself for things beyond your control. Self-blame keeps you stuck in shame, whereas accountability allows you to learn, grow, and make positive changes. Recognizing where you had control versus where you didn't. Healing requires understanding what was within your control and what wasn't. You can't control how others treated you, but you can control how you respond and move forward. Recognizing this difference helps release unnecessary guilt and focus on what you can change. Shifting from victim mindset to empowerment. A victim mindset keeps you feeling powerless, stuck in past pain, and believing life happens to you. Shifting to empowerment means accepting your experiences while choosing to heal, grow, and take control of your future. You're not defined by what happened to you. You're defined by how you rise from it. Reflection. Questions. 1. What aspects of my trauma were beyond my control? 2. What actions or choices do I take responsibility for? 3. How can I own my healing without blaming myself for the past? Accountability. Checkpoint. Write down a statement of ownership, e.g., I was not responsible for what happened to me, but I am responsible for my healing. Revisit in stage 4 to reflect on how your mindset has evolved. Journal exercise, breaking the victim mindset. Write down 3 ways you've identified with a victim mentality. Rewrite each point from an empowerment perspective. Do I feel like life happens to me or because of me? Why? What fears keep me stuck in a victim mentality? How would my life change if I fully embrace personal empowerment? Step 6. The role of choice goal. Recognizing that healing is a choice and understanding how daily decisions shape your recovery. Lesson: every reaction is a choice, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when emotions feel overwhelming, we always have a choice in how we respond. While reactions can be instinctive, pausing to recognize them gives us the power to choose a healthier response instead of acting on impulse. How trauma-based reactions can become automatic. Trauma conditions the brain to react defensively as a survival mechanism, making certain responses feel automatic, like shutting down, lashing out, or avoiding conflict. These reactions are learned patterns, but with awareness and effort, they can be unlearned and replaced with healthier coping strategies. The power of intentional decision-making in healing. Intentional decision-making means consciously choosing responses rather than letting past trauma dictate behavior. By practicing self-awareness, mindfulness, and emotional regulation, you regain control over your life, breaking free from old patterns and creating a healthier, more empowered future. Reflection. Questions. 1. What choices am I making right now that keep me stuck in my trauma? 2. What small daily choices can I make to start shifting my mindset? 3. How do I react when faced with emotional discomfort? Accountability. Checkpoint. Identify one area where you can make a different choice daily. Examples: responding to stress, self-care, boundaries. Revisit in stage 4 to see how your ability to make conscious choices has improved. Exercise. Identifying personal barriers to healing. Identify 3 self-sabotaging thoughts or behaviors. Create counter-statements that promote healing. What limiting beliefs do I have about healing? What are my biggest fears about change? How can I begin shifting these fears into motivation? Step 7. Committing to change goal. Making a conscious decision to heal and take control of your future. Lesson: healing is a long-term commitment. Healing isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey of self-awareness, growth, and emotional regulation. There will be ups and downs, but each step forward, no matter how small, brings lasting change. Overcoming setbacks and staying committed. Setbacks are a natural part of healing, not a sign of failure. The key is to acknowledge them, learn from them, and keep moving forward rather than letting them define your progress. The importance of self-compassion in the process. Self-compassion means treating yourself with kindness instead of judgment, especially on difficult days. Healing is challenging, but giving yourself grace allows you to grow without the weight of self-criticism holding you back. Reflection. Questions. 1. Am I truly ready to heal, even if it's difficult? 2. What fears do I have about changing and growing? 3. What personal commitment can I make to myself right now? Accountability. Checkpoint. Write a letter to yourself committing to your healing journey. Revisit in stage 4 to see how your perspective has evolved. Journal exercise. Committing to the process. Write a personal healing contract committing to change. Identify one daily habit that supports healing. What does commitment to healing look like for me? What are 3 promises I can make to myself today? How will I hold myself accountable for growth? How this will be revisited in stage 4. In the final stage, each accountability checkpoint from stage 1 will be reviewed to measure personal growth. How your understanding of trauma has changed. How your beliefs about yourself and your experiences have evolved. Whether your emotional triggers have less power over you. How your mindset around responsibility, choice, and healing has shifted. The progress you've made in daily actions toward healing,